Welcome back to Views with Hughes, Agenda Free News. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, Rachel Zegler and her upcoming portrayal of Snow White in the upcoming Disney live-action remake it basically has led to improper actions from Rachel Zegler, and that has led Rachel Zegler to do a bit of an apology tour. Okay, now this isn't just another Hollywood remake, as you all know. You see, this is just about how Disney is taking a beloved classic and using it as a platform to push a radical agenda. Rachel Zegler and her approach, on the other hand, to the character and the controversial changes being made are at the center of this storm. And it's clear that Rachel Zegler and her involvement in the symbolizes a larger issue plaguing Hollywood today. Okay. Now, Rachel Zegler and her recent comments, as you all know about the film, sparked a lot of outrage among fans and critics alike. And when asked about the original 1937 animated classic, Rachel Zegler and her dismissive attitude towards the film that made Snow White, a household name was shocking. And you see, Rachel Zegler and her remarks included calling the original extremely outdated and problematic. And Rachel Zegler and her failure to recognize the timeless value of the original film is a slap in the face to the generations of fans who grew up loving Snow White. Okay. Now, this attitude from Rachel Zegler is not only disrespectful, but also indicating a broader trend in Hollywood where classic stories are being reimagined for artistic reasons. But not for that, but only to fit a modern political narrative. But now we see that, Rachel Zegler and her casting as Snow White has been surrounded by controversy from the start. Many people even, question why Disney chose Rachel Zegler as the role of Snow White, given that she looks nothing like the original character. Snow White, as the name suggests, is traditionally portrayed as having skin as white as snow. But Rachel Zegler and, her casting signaled a deliberate move away from this image, which many is seen as an attempt to erase the original character's identity in favor of what they deem as more inclusive version. Okay, but it's really inclusivity, or is it pandering to the woke agenda that seems to rewrite history? But either way, Rachel Zegler and her being front and center in this controversy only fuels the fire. Now, we're going to also talk about a comparison of how Rachel Zegler's comments before have changed to what she stands now on this apology tour. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. I am.
Well, isn't that interesting right there? Because we are now seeing a different tune from Rachel Zegler with her comments and everything. So now we're going to see what is different about, Rachel Zegler this time.
Yeah, as a diehard Disney fan myself, I feel like I see every release an opening weekend. It's like getting to show it to your best friends in a way that you're just like, you won't believe what we did. And so it's been really, really amazing to get to hear their live reactions too. It's just such an instant gratification that what we made is cared about so much. And that's a really wonderful thing.
I'm always grateful, and I have to pinch myself for the love and the appreciation and the respect that we get from our incredible audience. So yes, I'm very, very lucky, grateful, and privileged for all this love.
Well, that's all handy dandy hunky-dory and everything, but there's still the issue of the fact that now we see that Rachel Zegler seems to be trying to backtrack her comments about the whole Snow White thing. But let's now talk about, the infamous no prince angle that, Rachel Zegler and is seeming to be championing. championing. See, in the original story, the prince plays a crucial role in Snow White's life. He is her savior, her hero. But in this new version, Rachel Zegler has to make it clear that the prince's role has been significantly diminished, if not entirely removed. And Rachel Zegler and her explanation, well, she doesn't need a man to save her. Now, while the idea of a strong, independent woman is not always problematic, Rachel Zegler and her approach to completely erasing the prince is a misguided attempt to go ahead and appease the modern feminist sensibilities or the narrative. Instead of empowering women, Rachel Zegler is stripping away the essence of what made the Snow White story so beloved in the first place: love, kindness, and the idea that we all need a little help sometimes, okay? Whether it's for a man or a woman. Now, Rachel Zegler's portrayal of Snow White is not just a reflection of her personal beliefs, but it's also a reflection of Disney's current direction under the leadership of Bob Iger. When Bob Iger returned to Disney, it's been marked by a series of decisions that seem more focused on virtue signaling than on creating quality content. And Rachel Zegler and her version of Snow White is just one example of how Bob Iger is allowing woke politics into this to dictate the direction of Disney's projects. Now, instead of staying true to, the original story itself, Bob Iger is using Rachel Zegler and is as a pawn in his broader agenda to reshape Disney into a company that prioritizes woke political correctness over storytelling. And to all of us, this shouldn't be any surprise. But what's more troubling is how Rachel Zegler's dismissive attitude towards the original Snow White has alienated not just the general audience, but also Disney's core fan base. You see, Snow White is a character that has been cherished for over 80 years, and Rachel Zegler and her lack of respect for the original film shows a disconnect between Disney's current leadership and the fans who supported the company for generations. Now, Bob Iger is gambling with Disney's legacy by allowing Rachel Zegler and to go ahead and have her takes on such a radical approach to one of the most iconic characters in cinematic history. But it's not just Rachel Zegler's involvement in Snow White that's raising eyebrows. You see, Rachel Zegler's past behavior on social media, on the other hand, has also come under scrutiny. You see, as you all remember, Rachel Zegler and her tweets have been filled with divisive rhetoric, often targeting those who disagree with her views. And this is not the behavior we should expect from someone, let alone an actress, taking a role as beloved as Snow White. Rachel Zegler's actions only serve to, basically further polarize audiences and drive a wedge between Disney and its fans. Okay. And let's not forget how, Rachel Zegler's involvement in the project was being used as a tool for Disney to virtue signal to the progressive left. By casting Rachel Zegler and allowing her to make such drastic changes to the character, Disney is essentially saying that, the original Snow White is no longer relevant or acceptable in today's society. Now, Bob Iger is basically sending a message that Disney is more interested in appeasing a vocal minority than honoring the legacy of the original film. Now, this move not only undermines the timelessness of Snow White, but also alienates the very audience that made Disney the powerhouse it is today, or it's supposed to be. Now, the backlash against Rachel Zegler and her portrayal of Snow White is not just about this one film. It's about the direction Disney is heading, okay? And Rachel Zegler is problematic of a broader problem in Hollywood where classic characters are being rewritten to fit a modern political agenda. This is not about progress. It's about erasing history and replacing it with a sanitized, politically correct version that lacks the heart and soul of the original. Okay. Now, Rachel Zegler's involvement in this project is a symptom of a much larger issue where it involves woke Hollywood and Disney in particular, who are more concerned with pushing a narrative than creating art that resonates with audiences. Okay. And Rachel Zegler's portrayal of Snow White is just one example of how this agenda is being forced upon us. And it's time that we as consumers keep pushing back. Okay. And not hold off on the gas. You see, Rachel Zegler and her portrayal of Snow White is a stark reminder of how far Disney has strayed from its roots. Iger is allowing political correctness to dictate the direction of, Disney's projects, and at the same time, Rachel Zegler is at the forefront of this misguided effort. And it's time for Disney to return to what it does best, telling timeless stories that resonate with audiences of all ages. And Rachel Zegler and her version of Snow White may be the latest example of Hollywood's woke agenda, but it's also up to us to make sure that it's not the last. Now, we must also continue to demand better from Disney and from Hollywood as a whole. And Rachel Zegler's along with Iger, must be held accountable for the direction that they're taking the beloved character, as well as, by extension, the entire Disney brand. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts or comments you may have this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button and share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.